I'm here with Derrick, the president of the Valero Alamo Bowl. Okay, so Thanksgiving tomorrow already, so we're just about a month away from the game. What are you seeing so far from these Big 12 teams? We'll start here.
Yeah, great. Another great season in the Big 12. Obviously, the CFP rankings came out last night, so you got Oklahoma and Baylor obviously playing in the Big 12 championship game. Winner of that game could advance on all the way to the CFP semifinals. Loser could also be in our mix. So just shows you how, it's great to have this selection that we do, highly successful teams that have great years, but that's how close the ranks are from semifinal game to Valero Alamo Bowl. And beyond those two, you really have, Iowa State, Kansas State, Texas, Oklahoma State, all in our mix. So exciting weekend of games, head-to-head competition will certainly play into that this weekend.
Yeah, let's go back to that Big 12 championship game. It's a rematch between Baylor and OU, that thriller we had 2 weeks ago. Jalen Hurts led the Sooners to come from behind win. What do you predict happening in that Big 12 game?
I'm sure you're going to have another exciting game there. It'll be interesting because obviously, like you talked about, Oklahoma came back from 25-point deficit, and they didn't have CeeDee Lamb, their best receiver, playing that date. So I think he's expected to be back and be healthy. So how that factors in from that perspective, and obviously you have the revenge from Baylor trying to make amends from that, and you really have a chance for the winner to potentially advance on to the semifinal game. So a lot right in the stake in that game. But obviously, from our perspective, we won't get the winner of that game, but very well could end up with the loser.
Okay, State, they stayed put at 21 this year, or at 21 in the rankings this week after last week. It's their second time through, I think, at 21. And this weekend they got the win over West Virginia. Chuba Hubbard, I think he hit like 107 or something rushing yards this weekend. Yeah, I know, right? So he's just been incredible this season, and he continues to put up these big numbers as the season goes on. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, phenomenal running back, leads the nation in rushing and all-purpose yards. So really talk about a shootout. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma this weekend, two of the most electric players in college football between Hurts and Hubbard. So exciting as a fan, just looking forward to seeing those two student athletes play and see what happens. But yeah, Oklahoma State's had a great year. Who knows whether they're going to get their starting quarterback back for the postseason or not, but had a very good year. And in typical Coach Gundy fashion, high-flying offense up in Stillwater.
Of course. So let's talk about another game that's happening between two schools in the same state, Texas and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the underdog. However, Jet Duffy, the quarterback, he's coming off 334 passing yards this last weekend. Texas allows the 7th most passing yards every single game. Do you think the Texas D can stop him this week?
It's going to be interesting. They've had their challenges on the defense this year, which is unfortunate from that perspective. And can Ellinger do enough offensively, to keep them in the game? So it'll be an interesting game. It's really, this is Tech's bowl game. They're not bowl eligible, and obviously Texas has a chance to move themselves up in the bowl selection order. So they're playing for a lot as well. So a lot at stake in Austin this weekend.
So we've got a whirlwind in the Big 12. We'll stop there with the Big 12 because there's so much we can talk about. But later in the show, we'll come back and talk about the Pac-12. I'm back with Derrick, the president of the Valero Alamo Bowl. Okay, so we talked about Big 12. Let's talk about the Pac-12. Utah, they're sitting 6th in the college football playoff rankings. What have you seen from them this season?
They're probably one of the best teams in the country, bar none, that I've seen. Offensively, defensively, special teams. And usually they're very good on defense and special teams. This year, unbelievable on defense, and their offense has been much more productive. Between Tyler Huntley, their quarterback, and Zach Moss, the running back, really explosive offense and done a lot offensively and been blowing teams out by about 30 points coming down the home stretch. So very balanced team that I think can play with anybody.
USC, the only team that's handed them a loss this year. They just wrapped up. You said you were at that UCLA game this weekend. They got the win. That was their final regular season game of the year. What about the Trojans this season?
Trojans have steadily improved throughout the course of the season and overcome a number of injuries. I mean, look at their starting quarterback went down the first game of the year, and lo and behold, Keaton Slovis comes in, backup quarterback, true freshman, and passes for 500-plus yards last weekend against UCLA. 4 receivers over 100 yards each. So, very good offensive team from that perspective. They've been steadily improving on defense, again, losing a lot of players throughout the course of the year. So they're well positioned. They're obviously watching what's going to go on in Salt Lake City this weekend, because if Utah gets defeated, USC is a Southern Division champ, and they go on to play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. A
lot at stake there. Let's talk about Oregon. We just mentioned they're 14 in the playoff rankings right now. They are coming off the upset loss to Arizona State this weekend. What do you make of that loss?
Tough loss for Oregon. Obviously, they're really in the driver's seat, if you will, at the time to have a chance to get in the semifinal. Lost on the road to Arizona State, who had lost 4 previous games, so you really didn't see this coming, although Arizona State's very talented. Justin Herbert has a chance to go home and close out his senior year in the Civil War up there and hopefully win that game from his perspective. Obviously, they're going to play in the Pac-12 championship game regardless, but obviously they have a chance to still win their way into the Rose Bowl, which I know is a big thing in the Pac-12.
And you mentioned Justin Herbert. He's thrown for, I think, almost 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns this season. How has he paced this Oregon offense?
Tremendous talent. First-round draft pick projected from that perspective. I think he just set the completions record at Oregon, surpassing Marcus Mariota, who was in our game in the Valero Alamo Bowl, and obviously went on and did great things, won the Heisman Trophy. So he's done a great job, and a local kid, and obviously a very good athlete, but also a very good student. So it's just a great story from that perspective to see him play.
I actually remember that Marcus Mariota game back, I think they played TCU maybe that year?
He played in the Oregon game, and then also the Oregon-Texas game, and then also the TCU Oregon game.
Yes, I remember that. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. We're 10 days out from the selection show, so a lot at stake this weekend. I really appreciate you being here.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us on.
For tickets to this year's Valero Alamo Bowl, visit alamobowl.com/tickets. The game is set for New Year's Eve at 6:30.